What's up, people? Welcome into today's episode. I'm so glad that you are here. Father Anthony Sciarappa and I had an absolute blast with today's show. I finally got him back, felt some vindication, because I created a game for him to fail at instead of him creating a game for me to fail at. You got to let us know. It's so much fun. I think you guys are going to get a lot more of the correct answers than Father Anthony did. So truthfully, let us know on social media or in the YouTube comments if you got some of the game answers right. We also have a pretty serious conversation about, some common misconceptions about Catholicism from a Protestant point of view, but also I ask a burning question that has kind of always bothered me about prayer, and Father Anthony gives a great answer. We also give some just kind of random updates, some things that happened on the internet this week that connected with Forte Catholic. So we have a blast. We hope that you guys do too. If you do, please hit that subscribe button wherever you are listening on podcasts. It's available everywhere and on youtube.com/Forte Catholic. Hit that subscribe button. We thank you guys so much in advance for that. Enjoy today's show. What's up? Welcome to Forte Catholic. I am Taylor Stroll, and that is Father Anthony Sciarappa. What's up, buddy?
Oh man, I'm doing a lot better than I was a week ago.
Yeah, man. I texted you one primary thing. I kept texting you, and you didn't answer me, which made me very worried. So I texted you three words. Please don't die.
Yes. Well, I listened to your request.
I'm glad you did. I'm really glad you did. You survived the Transformers virus.
I did survive it. Yeah.
It was pretty bad. I hear it's not bad for most people, and you were like down for the count.
Well, I'm kind of a wimp, so I was down for the count for like 3-4 days. It was basically the worst sore throat I ever had. So like every time I swallowed, there was significant pain. Every time I sneezed, I thought I was going to black out because everything was so tight in here. And then I just decided to destroy my liver with ibuprofen, and that started helping things out.
That's not what I thought you were going to say. You destroy your liver with other things.
Well, after 4 days, I still had like 5 days of quarantine. And so that's when I destroyed my liver with other things because I was super bored and stuck in my room. Yeah. So it was a rough few days, but got through it and everything. And, nice old ladies dropped me off chicken soup, which was delightful. Uh-huh. The coolest thing was this was, day 6 of quarantine. My pastor was like, hey, do you want me to bring you up some lentil soup? I made some lentil soup. And I said, no, thank you. He's like, okay, do you want a Manhattan? I was like, yes, please. So my pastor made me a Manhattan and brought it to my room. It's so cool. He's such a good dude. So that made me very happy.
That's very exciting. I'm glad you're alive. I'm glad you're feeling better. Are you back to priestly duties?
Yep. Had masses this Sunday. Been doing stuff last bunch of days. So we're back to it.
If you were good at preaching, it would have been a super spreader event because more people would have been there.
Yeah. So yeah. Like the first time I was just starting to feel a little tickle in my throat. But I didn't think it was anything. But I still wore one of those N95 masks the entire Sunday, like during everything, which was super annoying. But I'm glad I did now because the next day I was like, oh no, I'm sick. Oh no. Yeah.
Well, good for you. I'm glad you're a grown human person that cares about other people as a priest who has laid down his life for the church.
Yeah, I hope so. I don't want to kill any of these old people before it's their time,
Right, for sure. Although you do get paid well for funerals, so
I do. That's true, but we get plenty already. Nature takes its course at the right pace.
Life finds a way.
Yes. So does death.
Yeah, exactly. So we've got an interesting show today. I'm really, really excited. I'm really excited for the whole show. I'm really excited for the second segment. This first segment, we're going to do some catching up stuff. There's just been a lot of things that have happened that have connected to this show or something that we've talked about recently in some way, like in an uncanny amount. So we're going to do that, kind of catch up a little bit. The second segment, you have created games for me to play and look stupid here recently on the show.
Yes, I have.
And I, with about 30 minutes to spare before we recorded, had literally as like a stroke of maybe it was an actual stroke, but a stroke of genius. Yeah. And we're going to play a game called Catholic Mashup that I think you're going to do tremendously bad at.
Definitely.
Like one of those things where everybody listening is going to be yelling at you and knowing the answer, yelling at their cars, like, you dumb priest. And, And then to follow that up in our final segment, we have some new non-Catholic listeners. So I want to go through some questions that they have had and some questions about Catholicism that, frankly, I have had recently.
That's fair. Yes.
So we're going to do a little bit of both. So that's our show for the day. So just to kind of touch base on one thing, I think I texted this to you like while you were at the beginning of the sickness, but we recorded last time, and you made a joke about Texas, where you were like, "Oh yeah, there's probably a cactus in your front yard." I'm like, "Dude, I'm not anywhere close to a cactus." And then,
so you say,
the weekend after, I sent you a certain picture.
Yes, you obviously went to your backyard where there's many cacti. And you took a picture of a tiny cactus, and you were giving me the thumbs up and claiming you were 150 miles away from your house.
It was really funny. So I went back. I thought I said it was 150 miles away. I thought it was like exact. I think I said on the show 250 miles away, which was a little facetious, right? But like, there's not cactuses like where I live. You have to drive out into, but like the next weekend after we recorded, I led a retreat and I was climbing up this like mountain, small mountain hill, right? Where we did this hike up this little mountain. And sure enough, surrounded by cacti. So I sent you a picture.
I think it's beautiful that you're on this retreat, you're climbing this mountain, you find this annoying, prickly plant, and you're like, man, I gotta send this to Father Anthony. That's what made you think of me. I'm very touched by that.
This annoying prickly plant made me think of someone in particular.
Yes, exactly. I was touched.
Two things happened in pop culture. People very famous, way more famous than me, and even more famous than you.
Yes, it happens.
Not as famous as those two people sitting next to you, though. Hello, Mary and Jesus. How
Yes,
are you?
yes.
But close. So Will Forte, who's an actor. You know Will Forte, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I have this thing called, what is it called? Google Alerts. There you go. So like, if Forte Catholic shows up or Taylor Strolls shows up, like usually it's when I go and speaks like at a diocesan thing or something. They write it out in the paper. It's just nice to see those things. But every now and then, like Will Forte will be in an article about a Catholic school, right? Like Will Forte gives commencement speech at Catholic school. And so I get emails about Will Forte like 4 times a year. Will Forte. So I saw this and like, one, I love Will Forte. Like I watched Sweet Tooth, a few months ago, a show on Netflix he was in. It was just very good. But he did something, and I want you to try to make the connection.
Okay.
So Will Forte hosts SNL for the first time. He was a cast member 12 years ago. And he says that like all of his fellow castmates hosted before him. Kristen Wiig hosted, and then Bill Hader, and then Andy Samberg, and then Fred Armisen, and then Kristen Wiig again, and then Bill Hader again, and then Jason Sudeikis. And then John Mulaney, who wasn't even on the cast. He was just a writer when Will Forte was on the show. He hosted 4 times. And Will said, I'm not bitter about it, while cackling. So what connection do you think that I drew out of this scenario?
Hosting, what would you not be bitter about, but you actually would be bitter about? Something about hosting. You're not the type of guy who super wants to host like a Steubenville conference. I don't know. Tell me.
You really don't see this, huh?
No.
Favorite co-hosts of Forte?
Yeah.
Father Anthony, Allison Sullivan, John Blevins, Liv Harrison, Father Anthony again, John again, Liv again, Allison 4 times, and then me.
That is true. Yes.
I thought it was very funny. And he ended it. He ended listing off this whole thing. And he goes, but you know what? Tonight is all about me. And at that moment, Kristen Wiig walks behind him, and he doesn't see her, and the crowd erupts with laughter. So he thinks everyone is cheering for him. And sure enough, he turns around, and there's Kristen Wiig, and it crushes him. And that's how I feel about the show. I look at the stats, and I'm just like, man, everybody's here for me, and it's simply not true.
Yes.
But okay, so that made me laugh about something in pop culture connecting to the show with the whole Forte thing and the co-host thing. I've said before, like the Conan O'Brien, I think he is the funniest man alive. I think because like there are a lot of comedians that I really love, like John Mulaney is very funny, Kevin Hart's very funny, but Conan, I think one of the things that Allison has taught me this because it's something that she doesn't appreciate at all. She does not appreciate or have like respect for or desire to be good off the cuff, right?
Yeah.
But that is like a huge desire for me, something that I've built up, something that I always want to be better at, something I think I'm pretty good at, but like, want to be better at. Conan is the best at that, which is probably why Taylor, thinks that Conan is the funniest person alive. Yeah. He has been hosting a podcast for a few years less than me, but he's number 4 in the world. Yeah, he's fine. He's doing just fine. Well, like 3-4 years into the show, he does this stick on the show for the first time where he starts giving his co-hosts fake middle names.
Yep.
I've never felt more validated as a funny person in my entire life.
That's great. He's obviously listening to the show, getting inspiration from Taylor.
I know that's not the case, but the fact that he had the same idea that I did, but years later, made me feel really good about myself.
Yes, it's good.
Hand it first. Okay, another thing that this isn't about me. This is about you. You and I are planning for you to make a trip down here next summer.
Yes.
And while I was looking at the calendar, one of the things that's in my calendar that's like a repeating event every year is Father Anthony's priestly anniversary, right?
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I have your birthday in there, but I've got your priestly anniversary.
Yeah.
Because I was there. I came to celebrate with you last year. And I knew that was 5 years, right? That was your 5-year anniversary. So then I hadn't thought about it in a while, but while we're planning for next summer, I'm like, oh, that obviously means that this year's going to be the 6th year. And then I was like, wait, 6 years? And I went back and looked, and I was like, this show started 6 years ago.
Oh.
So you became a priest. It's what, July, right? July?
Yeah.
Something like
25th,
that?
I think.
25th. Yeah, I had 5th in my mind, but that's when, that's a different date. That's when I proposed. July 5th.
Also important, I guess.
Yeah. July 25th. And then this show started in September of that same year. So my question for you is, you've been a priest 3 months longer than this show has existed. Which do you think has accomplished more?
As far as accomplishing more, it's close. It's close in the sense that absolutely, without a doubt, me being a priest has been way more important than this show. Obviously. You know how many confessions I've done? At least 10.
You know how many confessions I've done? Going to confession isn't a big deal.
No, so here's the thing. Like, but I will say, for real, is that this show is one of the more ridiculous and delightful things that have come because of my vocation. Like, when you think about being a priest, you think about celebrating mass, hearing confessions, preaching, all that stuff. All that stuff is great. It's wonderful. But like, I've been given all these like strange little blessings, like meeting Taylor Schroll over the internet because I was a priest on Twitter, and now being a part of the show and being, you're one of my very best friends, and it's like, this is great. So for me, as far as fun stuff, this has been an extravagant blessing from the Lord.
I have so many follow-up questions.
Okay.
The first being one that I didn't plan at all, but just something to rebut what you just said. You are thankful that you met me on Twitter, and we have had, we have done the show together. You're the vice president of this organization. We've become friends, and yet you quit Twitter. So, like, was meeting me where you were like, I can't do this again, or like I've peaked and I have all that I need? Which reason?
To see, none of those reasons. I did actually just thinking of you. I was doing this for your benefit. That's the reason why I quit Twitter.
There's not a false dichotomy here. It's an actual dichotomy you must choose.
No. Because by quitting Twitter, I've made myself a more scarce. I've created scarcity in the economy. So now people want Father Anthony content. They have to tune into your show at least once a month. That's why I get the ratings. And I was like, I'm gonna do this. How about Taylor? I must decrease so Taylor can increase. That was the reason.
And you have lost weight and I have gained it, so it works.
Yes.
The other thing is, like, yes, quite obviously, your priesthood has accomplished more, like, in a weekend than this show has in 6 years, right? The importance of grace and celebrating the sacrament. Like, we always talk about, like, you could do the Grand Slam in a day. You can do a wedding, a marriage, Eucharist, First Communion, funeral. Like, you could do all of it in a day, right? But we did bring up Conan and how I started this podcast. And then about halfway through this podcast, Conan started his, and he's one of the top 5 podcasts at all times over the last 3 to 4 years. Yeah. So who do you think has accomplished more in their field? You as a priest or Conan as a podcaster? Which one has surpassed me more?
That's good. You know what? I can't say that I'm the Conan O'Brien of my field, because you have Father Mike Schmitz, who is like is so pastoral, has a good sense of humor, is a great teacher. You've got Bishop Robert Barron. So I got to give it to Conan on this. I'm definitely not the top of the ecclesiastical field. No chance.
I think so too. And what we've just done is we've actually gone back to the first part of this segment. And now we're listing people in order again. And now it's Conan, and then Father Anthony, and then me.
I am the Taylor Schroll of priests, I think.
I'm so sorry. Okay. One final thing for in regards to this show, and then we're going to take a break and play a game. But I had to get to this because we got some feedback on our YouTube channel the other day, right? And like sometimes we get feedback, like comments from some of our new listeners, and like that leads to good conversations like we're going to have in our final segment today. But sometimes it's like trolls, right? Like there was literally somebody who was named Troll McTroll, and I was like, is this me? Did I create this account? I couldn't remember. And they're just like commenting mean things, like anti-Catholic things. You just delete those and move on with your life, right? Yeah. But then I got this one from a person named DS Kim. And this was a reply on a video. I will cherish your image, as beautiful as the starlight in the empty place in my heart. When I am facing your video, somehow the past sadness disappears. My wet eyes that stayed in the neon light like tears that filled the winter dawn sky were moved by your video and fell in love. I fell in love with your video. I can't stop thinking that your video is very good. When I watch your video, you come to me with a little longing, and when I close my eyes, my heart is touched. Your video makes my dewy eyes forget all the worries of the world and my dark eyes. It brightens my heart. Your video under the cold winter sky at dawn is so beautiful and enchanting. No matter how many times I watch it, I want to watch it over and over again. When this morning comes, I am saddened by the memories of the past that have become far more distant than yesterday, and my tears are flowing, but somewhere your video flashes before my eyes. I like your video so much that I want to keep it without forgetting it. By chance at Winter Window, as the algorithm introduced me, when I opened my YouTube window, the first video I saw was yours. When the sky is overcast and I feel alone among the twigs outside the window, I enjoyed your video and became happy. Your video, the only one in the world, gives me a heart that is struggling to stumble. When I watch your video, everything feels like a dream.
Still going?
How did you come up with such a wonderful talent that is full of strange charm in this video? I was amazed at the excellence of your skills and was moved by sincerity and your hard work while watching this video. I am looking at your video like a dream. The end.
Well, to be honest, I've never gotten a compliment like that for one of my homilies, so
right?
Kudos.
Right. This comment made me so mad, Anthony.
Yeah.
Not for the reason that you would think.
Okay.
This is the best compliment I've ever gotten for anything I've ever produced ever. Like, why aren't actual listeners, people who actually listen to the show and enjoy the show? This is obviously just a copy and paste. It is the nicest thing anyone has ever said. This is a comment on, I believe it was 2 podcast episodes ago over on our YouTube channel. And it made me so mad that no one that listens to this show comments. We have 1,000 people listening every episode on the podcast. No one ever gives it a rating. We have 100 people listening every episode on YouTube. No one comments or likes it. Why? Why is this the best thing that's happened to our YouTube channel? Why?
That's a great point. I think part of it is people are afraid to jump into the YouTube comments because that's just, like wading to shark-infested waters. But I think you're worth the risk, Taylor. I think you are worth one of your faithful listeners just jotting down something nice about the video they watched. And it'd be even funnier if all the compliments were about your co-hosts and not you. So that's what I would suggest. So say something nice about the co-hosts in the next few videos, everybody, just to make Taylor even more angry.
It would connect this entire segment together with one thread. Very good. Very good. Here's the thing. I have gotten this reputation as being mean. People think that I am mean because I am mean to every one of my co-hosts because that is how I treat my friends.
Yes.
But if you want me to be nice to you, you know who the people I'm the nicest to? It's not my wife or my kids. It's not my co-hosts. It's people who leave comments on YouTube. I give it a heart. I give it a thumbs up. I respond within seconds because I get no notifications. I can open up my Instagram and I can have like 100 notifications. Not everybody's getting love. If you comment on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Forte Catholic, I respond. Usually within seconds because I'm so excited that it has happened. I read this man's soliloquy to me the moment it was sent. I just want people to be nice to me like I'm nice to people off camera.
Nice.
Okay, well, we're going to come back and play a game where Father Anthony looks stupid, and then you can comment how great he did in the game in the comments.
Yes.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. It's February, my friends, which means that Valentine's Day is quickly approaching. If you are married, you better start buying those gifts now and don't do like I do and buy the gift on February 13th or maybe even 14th or maybe even 15th, depending on the year. If you are single and do not yet have a date, well, start a Catholic Match account. That's what you can do. CatholicMatch.com/Forte. Nope, that's wrong. ForteCatholic.com/match. Sign up today or just, go to your app store. Go to Catholic Match. It's free. Guys, you've heard me talk about it before. This is the month of love. If you have been feeling lonely, one, go to God in prayer. That's always a great place to go. The second place to go is a Catholic Match. Find somebody else who is Catholic and looking for a date this February. Do it now. Why not? Try to find some love for Valentine's Day. I don't know what accent that was, but it's what came to my head. To make it memorable, maybe? Will you go download it? Is today the day you finally do it? Or re-download it because you deleted it a while ago? See some of that on Twitter. Download it today. What could possibly go wrong? Welcome back to Forte Catholic. I am Taylor Stroll. That is Father Anthony Sciarappa. I, like I said, have invented a new game. Specifically... Not specifically for Father Anthony, but specifically in response to him creating games for me where I look stupid. I'll probably play this with other people, but you're the guinea pig that we get to poke and prod today.
Great. This is going to be, I'm so excited.
So this game is going to be called Catholic Mashup, unless somebody else has a better name for it. That's what I came up with 30 minutes before we hit record. Catholic
Sounds
Mashup.
Good.
Because all of Forte Catholic is about where pop culture, where people are and Catholicism meet, where the everyday person and Catholicism meet. That's where we want to be. So I was like, well, I started hosting trivia. Some people know that I started hosting trivia here locally at a local bar, and it's fun. So trivia has been on my mind, and then you played the trivia games with me, and I was like, well, what's one of my favorite trivias that I've ever heard? And it was these mashups of two people where you have to combine their names, right? So Jordan, I've heard it with sports, like Jordan Love is the backup quarterback for Aaron Rodgers. And a coach in the NFL was named Lovie Smith. So it would be like Jordan Love E. Smith.
Okay,
Jordan Love, Lovie Smith, Jordan Lovie Smith, right? So I wanted to do a pop culture and Catholicism version to where one person will be from pop culture and one person will be from Catholicism, whether it be a saint or a famous Catholic now or someone from the Bible or something like that, right? Mashed up with someone from pop culture. And we're going to test your knowledge now. I have an example of how this works with Catholicism. I gave this example to you to show you this is the easy one as the example to teach you how to do it. And you did not
miserably.
So here was the clue. So the clue it's like it's going to be one person, right? So that would be like Jordan Lovie Smith. So the clues would have been like the backup quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, who was also a coach for the Chicago Bears, Jordan Lovie Smith, as one person, right? So Tim Allen Santa Claus is coming back to Netflix. That was in the news this week. But first, he worked on houses on TV and hosted this podcast. That would be Tim the Toolman Taylor Schroll. Because Tim Allen played Tim the Tool Man on Home
Yes.
Improvement, right? Fixed houses on TV before he was Santa Claus. And who hosts this podcast? Taylor Schroll. Tim the Tool Man, Taylor Schroll. You get how the game works.
I get how it works.
Okay. So what I think is that everybody's going to know, most people are going to know these. Like, I think most of them are pretty easy. I tried to put some of the easy ones towards the beginning, the first one or two. The last one is my favorite, and I cannot wait to get to it.
Okay.
All right. This is a basketball player who was drafted in the same year as LeBron James. Very famously drafted in the same year as LeBron James. And is now a teammate of LeBron James this year at the end of their careers. He's also the clerical co-host of this show.
I don't know any basketball players.
So it helps if you get one half. Who's the clerical host of this show?
It's me. It's Father Anthony.
Okay, so drop Father. Your name is just
Anthony.
There's not somebody named Father.
Yes, and I assume there's not a Sciarappa. I would be aware of that.
Yeah. So the clue that I said first was basketball, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're the second half. So Anthony Sciarappa is the end. So it has to be something.
Yes.
Anthony, right?
Why am I only thinking? No, that's not good. I don't know any basketball players.
Everybody's yelling. Carmelo Anthony Sciarappa.
Oh, this is going to be so bad, Taylor.
Anthony Sciarappa.
This is going to be so bad.
That one was a little harder. I think you'll get the next one. If you don't get the next one, you're not getting any of them.
We're going to cancel the segment. It's just going to be a disaster.
No, we won't. We won't cancel it. It'll just be vindication for me. Okay. This is a rapper known for one-word exclamations who recently got into an argument with his famous relative about who was better at soccer.
Better at soccer.
Rapper known for one-word exclamations.
Yes.
Who
T-Pain?
recently got into an argument with his famous relative about who was better at soccer.
Pain. The only soccer player I can think is Air Bud in the sequel.
Lil Uzi Air Bud.
I mean, that sounds like a name.
Okay. One word. I'm going to try to help you. I think you can get this.
Oh my gosh.
One word exclamations. Who's the rapper known for one word?
Was that Lil Jon?
Yes.
Okay. Lil Jon,
who recently got in an argument with his famous relative who was better at soccer.
Who's better at soccer?
I will help you. Who recently got into an argument with his famous brother about who was better at soccer.
Little Elton John. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, no. You've got the pop culture person who's the Catholic. Yes. The Catholic has to be the second.
Oh, it has to be a Catholic.
Yeah.
Oh.
Recently got into an argument with his famous brother about who was better at soccer.
Okay. Little John at soccer.
Famous brother.
Famous brother.
His name is John.
Like the apostle, the beloved disciple, little
Jeez,
John.
Anthony.
John Paul II.
Anthony, who was the answer on the last clue?
Me.
Yeah. So do you think it might be somebody else close to us?
Oh, is it Lil John Blevins?
Yes.
I don't follow his Twitter or anything. I don't know who's better at soccer. I didn't know that was even a thing.
Yeah, Ninja said he was better at soccer than his brother. So they're all fighting, and it's very funny.
I absolutely believe that Ninja's better at John than soccer.
No, John played in college.
Did he?
Yeah, I think so.
But he's so large.
I ran track. That doesn't mean anything. It was 12 years ago. Okay. God, I hope you get one of these.
Me too.
This might be the only one you have a chance to get, if we're going to get any of them.
No.
All right.
This is so painful.
Remember the rules. Catholic and a pop culture person.
Right. Catholic. Yes. Okay. Cool.
Priest who recently released a book about Vatican II. Also married a princess and found the Holy Grail. Priest who recently released a book about Vatican II. Also married a princess and found the Holy Grail.
Who did a book on Vatican II? Is that the guy you interviewed on the show?
Oh my gosh, Anthony.
If it's not Father Harrison, because his book wasn't on Vatican II.
Yes, it was.
No, it's on the it's Mysterion, the sacramental worldview. Father Harrison Arthur
married a princess and found the Holy Grail in his most 2 iconic movie appearances.
Because he's a famous person. Father Harrison
famous person married a princess.
Father Harrison Ford.
Yeah!
Father Harrison Ford.
I really just wanted to say that Father Harrison married a princess and found the Holy Grail.
Well, yeah.
He wrote a book about Vatican II recently.
No, that book's coming out later. His book he just published is Mysterion, the Catholic sacramental worldview, which has some Vatican II stuff in it, but it's not,
Well, is this
That's
the one that
Mysterion.
you were supposed to write a review for and you didn't?
Published by the Paul. Yes, I didn't. Well, I felt really bad when I saw that Luke Carey was published in there. I'm like, well, if he can do it, I should have done it. I didn't realize that. I thought it was like only actually famous people.
All right. You're not going to get this one, but the listeners will. Okay. If you needed help getting that one, golly. One of the most sought out Catholic speakers today wears a habit and played college volleyball. Also directs the Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
No, it's not James.
One of the most sought out Catholic speakers wears a habit and played college volleyball. Also directs the Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
What are famous religious people? Now Benedict Grushel's dead. I
mean, to be fair, being dead doesn't rule you out of this game, but it's not Father Benedict Grusel.
Right. Who? I can't even think of a famous Catholic speaker who.
She is the most sought out Catholic speaker. She wears a habit and she played college volleyball.
What's
You've
her name?
literally already said the name out loud.
Did I?
Yep. Almost immediately, you said the name that is the connection between the famous person and the Catholic.
Sister.
You said the word James, Anthony.
I did. Yes.
Yep. What's her name?
Is James Gunn the director?
Yes.
James Gunn. Cool. Wow. I don't know where that came from.
So who's the sister?
Okay. Sister Mary. James
Very close. Sister Miriam James Gunn.
Miriam. Okay. Yes.
She's Sister Miriam James Heidland, but she's famously Sister Miriam James. So we have Sister Miriam James Gunn.
Whew.
Okay. You're very bad at this. I threw you some easy ones thinking it was going to go better than this, and it has not.
I am so bad at pop culture, and apparently Catholic pop culture too.
This is the hardest one, and my favorite, because it is not only do they share a name, it's like a mashup of their names. So saying it out loud, it will match up. I'm so proud of this one.
Okay.
Church leader, known among other things for his stance on helping the poor, who gives away transportation to those they meet. Church leader known for his stance on helping the poor, among other things, who gives away transportation to those they often meet.
Gives away transportation to those they often meet. Taxi drivers. Who's a famous transportation person? There's so many.
Gives away transportation.
Gives boats to
who
people.
Famously gives away transportation.
Who famously gives away transportation? Oh, okay. Oprah gave away a lot of cars.
Yeah, you get a car. You get a car.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Cool.
Church leader, among other things, known for his stance on helping the poor.
It's the same. helping the poor. That's like everybody. That's like every saint. Church leader. Is this church person currently alive?
Yes.
Okay.
For now.
For now. Okay.
Known for his stance.
Popra. No, is it Popra Francis?
You're very close. You're very close. You have the right person. Now let's match up the names.
Francis.
What's his other name? If that name doesn't work.
Yes!
Jorge Bergoglio-Oprah!
So stupid.
I'm so proud of it. I love that it was giving away to the poor, and she's like, "You get a car, and you get a car, and you get." They work together in this realm. It made me so happy.
That's so dumb.
I will tell you, Anthony, that this game was invented backwards from that realization.
That's the first thing that came to
Hey,
your brain.
Bergoglio-Oprah. Oh my gosh, we should play a Catholic mashup game, and I made up the other ones. Oh man,
your brain's weird.
You were incredibly bad at this.
I really was. Holy smokes!
Oh, did you have fun?
Is getting one of my teeth pulled is fun. Yeah, sure.
It doesn't matter if you had fun, because I had a blast, and I'm pretty sure that almost everyone listening got at least 5 out of those 6 and thinks you're an idiot, and that makes me so happy.
That's fair. That's fair if they think that. Mm.
Well, we'll just blame it on your Transformer brain, and we'll be right back to talk about real things that Father Anthony is going to give us real answers for and not look like a dummy. Don't go anywhere. Our travel sponsor, Select International Tours, is celebrating their 35th anniversary of taking people across the world on pilgrimages this year. And in honor of their anniversary, they are giving $350 off every single pilgrimage, every single tour for every single person for the next couple of weeks. This promo ends on February 18th. If you've been wanting to, kind of itching to travel, because we couldn't do it as much over the last 2 years, and you want to go on a pilgrimage, why not check it out? At least go check it out. ForteCatholic.com/tours. $350 off of your final bill if you sign up for a pilgrimage and pay your deposit by February 18th. Do it. ForteCatholic.com/tours. Welcome back to Forte Catholic, where we destroy Father Anthony's reputation and then attempt to build it back up immediately after. Father Anthony, we're going to try to make you look real smart this segment. How's that?
Okay, cool. Ooh.
All right, so this segment has come from a few different places. I've mentioned a couple of them. One, we have a couple of new listeners who are non-Catholic, one of which who is one of our few commenters on YouTube. Thank you for all of the love and support. I appreciate that. She's Protestant, and so she's had some questions. Like there was one one of the things that she responded to first was like when you and I were talking about another priest who wrote a book about Vatican II, who was like, reading Vatican II is just as important as Scripture. She's like, I'm glad y'all answered the way that you did, otherwise I wouldn't keep listening. So she has had some questions, but I've also had, so that's been in my mind, right?
Yeah.
I also have a question that I've been. It's probably the question that has caught me up the most. Like it's kind of holding me back and thinking, because I'm going to ask you that question. But then also, one of the things that I've said before on the show, but I go and I anytime I do retreats, like the retreat that I was on, I also did at the youth group. I love doing Q&A sessions, right? Because a lot of times when people do, they either don't do Q&A in ministry stuff, and people are sitting there like, I don't believe in God, and you're talking about prayer. And it's like, this talk means nothing to me, because if I don't think God exists, then why would I pray? Right? If I don't believe that the church is real, why would I believe your talk on the Eucharist? Like that sort of thing, right? So we have to work through those things. I did those, and like there's a lot of times it gets pretty serious at retreats, but I did it recently with a youth group that I'm really comfortable with. It's here in town. I've been working with a lot of these kids on and off, so it kind of became like, it was serious, but there were silly youth ministry moments, right?
Yeah.
Like somebody was like, why do we have to go tell our sins to a priest?
Mm-hmm.
So I literally thought about the show and like the people asking questions, but like I knew I was going to talk to you. So here was my first joke answer to this question, and I had
Okay.
never thought about it before. It came immediately off the cuff.
Yes.
Shout out to Conan, immediately off the cuff. So I was like, Protestants be like, I'm an independent Christian who don't need no man between me and God. So I was really proud of that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then I actually answered the question. But for those who are maybe converts who maybe still don't understand this question, or Catholics who are like, I'm not sure why I should go to confession, all these sorts of things. So first of all, questions about priesthood. One, why do you exist? Why does the priesthood exist when most other denominations just have, leaders who get up and talk and give pastoral advice? Why priests? Why do we have that?
Yeah. So I think first of all, we have to figure out, like, would this be something that God does? And my answer to that is yes. God doesn't need people, but he seems to delight in using them. Like, think about it. God could have teleported all of Israel out of Egypt, but instead he chose Moses. God could have lightning beamed words into everybody's brain, but he chose prophets. Something about God, it seems, that he delights in using his creation and having his creation cooperate with him. That also, there is a history of the priesthood going all the way back to Adam and Eve, in a certain sense, that their job in the garden was to receive what God had given them and give it back to God. They were a bridge between the spiritual and the material. And in a sense, human beings are that way as well. We also believe that everyone who's baptized, in a certain sense, is baptized as a priest to sanctify the world. Okay, so why do we need the hierarchical priesthood? It's how Jesus chose to do it. He ordains his apostles. And even if the ordination doesn't seem super explicit, I think we would all agree that the 12 apostles in Scripture is pretty evident that they are something set apart, something different than the rest of the disciples. And we know historically that, and also from Scripture, that ministry was considered particular. So in Acts of the Apostles, you have the apostles. There's a complaint that basically the Greek community, the early Christian Greek community, weren't being cared for the way they should be. And the apostles said, well, okay, we'll have deacons do that job because we have to do the preaching and the teaching and that sort of thing. Okay, so it seems like the apostles are different. We also know historically that they were leaders of communities, and we actually have writings from the people who were ordained by the apostles. Some of the early church fathers, we have their writings that this was a thing that was very purposefully passed on. So there's a historical record for this. And there's a growth in understanding of what goes on there, for sure. But so we have that historical thing. Basically, God communicates to us in sacramental ways, using the material, using the physical, to help us to see that which is invisible. So that's the role of the priest, that Christ wants a presence. He wants to use human words to reveal something divine. He wants to use a human presence to reveal himself. There is a certain closeness. So when we talk about confession, for example, any Catholic will tell you it's a good thing to confess your sins, like in prayer when you're by yourself. That's a good spiritual practice. But every Catholic knows it's different when you have a priest right there. That's God showing us and making us realize that he really is there in that moment. By using the presence of the priest, it becomes a kind of sacrament, a kind of mediation, a way for us to actually feel closer to God and to be closer to God. The weird thing about Catholicism is that a lot of times people will say, well, can't you go just to Jesus? Why do you need the sacraments? When actually the sacraments bring us closer to Jesus by adding extra steps. It's an odd sort of thing, but that's kind of how it works. So priests are taken from the people and given to the people. I'm not a priest just for myself. I'm a priest for the people. It's a gift to more deeply experience the real, concrete, incarnational love of God.
So a lot of people who, whether they're in the church or outside of the church looking in, have seen, can see priests in a certain light because of some of the bad ones, right? So a lot of people are like, why why did you become a priest? Because a lot of people could say like, oh, people become priests for power, they become priests for nefarious reasons, or they become priests to because they couldn't get a date. I mean, that one's true for you too, but like, why did you become
ancillary,
a priest?
not the main reason. Yeah. And like, and that's true. I mean, even among the apostles, you have Judas. So there's always going to be sinfulness in the priesthood. That's just
12% of priests. It seems to be a 1 out of 12. I mean, 1 out of 12 seems to be pretty good average. 8% of bad apples.
Yes, exactly. And if you talk to, most Catholics love and appreciate their parish priests, even if they know they're not perfect. Okay, but why become a priest? The first reason was because I had a conversion basically in high school. And God had every good thing in my life came from him. I was in love with him as much as a high schooler could be. And I felt this tug on my gut toward the priesthood. And at the end of the day, I figured if God has given me all this, then why can't I give him my life back if that's what he wants? So it was just at the beginning, that was it. As I went on through seminary and just got to know the people of God more, began to understand the priesthood more, people deserve good priests, because there are a lot of not so good priests out there. But even if people deserve to have good priests, and even though I'm a punk, if God can do anything, he can make me a good priest for these people. And just that thought of being a good father, of being a good priest, I wanted to do that. I wanted to give my life in love in that way. That's what fulfilled my heart's desire, to be able to do that, to be an instrument of God in that way. Yeah, sign me up.
Okay, next question. Who was the guy that was drafted right after LeBron James?
James Cameron.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
Was it Lola Bunny after him? I don't know if that was.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so you actually mentioned something in your, I think, your first answer about God choosing the hard way. Or about God choosing to use people, which I interpreted as the hard way, right? Like,
that's funny how your brain worked. Yeah,
because you were like, God could have just teleported everybody out of Egypt, but he wanted to use Moses. And I, knowing that story, was like, Moses was a screwed up. He messed up. It took all the plagues. A bunch of people had to die during the plagues. A bunch of people had to die during the Egyptians all died whenever they were fleeing. The Israelites had to wander in the desert. Like, why choose the hard way? Actually leads really well into my actual question. It is the question that I have asked not multiple people. I asked people that like I think can give me a good answer. And to be honest, I've gotten they're probably really good answers, but they have not worked for me. Right. Yeah. Just like with, I don't know if I'm not articulating it well, or they're, whatever. Right. I don't know if it's me or them. It's probably me, but, there's a lot of questions about this, but I was thinking specifically about prayer kind of in a funny way. And then I think I'll get to the serious way. But like, speaking of like God doing things the hard way, we talk about the importance of persistence in prayer, and you got to keep praying. And we hold Saint Monica up on this pedestal. She prayed for her son, to return to faith. He was like the prodigal son, right? Return to faith, She followed him all over the world. And I'm just like, why? Why do we have to persist in prayer? He heard us. And it's not like, I'm not talking about the, like, I want to win the lottery. Why hasn't this happened? I'm talking about the real things, the good things, like St. Monica, please God, have my son turn his life around and come to you. Why doesn't he answer those prayers? Why do I have to ask so many times? He is God. He knows everything. Even before I ask, he knows what I'm going to ask. So why do I have to keep asking? Because it doesn't seem to make sense to me, because like a good father, right, which is what God is, you're a good father, a priest. Imagine if I was persistent in asking you things, and how annoying it would be, one, on both ends. It would be annoying for me to have to ask the same things over and over and over again over the course of days, weeks, months, years, right? And it would be so annoying to me for me to ask you, and you keep telling me, ask me again later, not now. Ask me again later, not now, which is what this whole persistence in prayer thing. It's bothered me for a long time. I don't get it. Try me.
Okay, yeah. Well, first of all, it's a really good question. So I'll just tell you how I understand it. I think things make a little bit more sense if you remember that prayer is more about relationship than transaction. Why does God ask us? And he says very explicitly in the Bible a bunch of times, keep asking, keep asking, keep asking. Because this is what happens when we keep asking God for something. By spending that time in prayer, we enter into deeper relationship with him, and several things happen. One, sometimes God is preparing our hearts to receive the gift. So that waiting, that anticipation is a painful thing. It's a stretching of the heart. But it's a stretching of the heart to prepare the heart to receive the good thing that God wants to give that person. In a kind of silly example, it's like surprise cake is delicious. Someone shows up with cake. Oh, great, that's cake. But cake you've been waiting for and thinking about.
Surprise cake is gross. I thought surprise cake, like somebody jumping out of it. I don't want cake that somebody's body was all over.
I mean by surprise cake, like someone's like, here's a piece of cake. Delightful. Nothing wrong with that. But what I mean is like cake that you've been waiting for, that you've been smelling, that you've been anticipating. Same thing like when you've been like working out and you're looking forward to a Gatorade at the end. That helps you to appreciate the goodness of the thing. So that's kind of like a silly example to kind of point to what's going on in prayer. So that opening up. The
silly, maybe you'll have a serious example, because the silly example didn't work for this fat kid, because this fat kid doesn't wait. If I see cake, I eat it. If I want Gatorade while working out, I drink it. So I'm not good at waiting. That might be a theme of this entire segment. Here.
That might be a thing, and that might connect something spiritual. Who knows? Okay, so that's one aspect. The other aspect is that by entering into prayer, it's our wills that are transformed, that we begin to desire things in the way that God desires things. This is why do Catholics say that every prayer of Mary is answered? And I mean, you'll hear really flowery and sometimes scandalous language about this. If you're not Catholic, it'll throw you off, that like Mary almost has like quote unquote power over God. What does it actually mean, theologically speaking? It means that her will is perfectly united with God's will, that she desires exactly what God desires. So when she's asking for something, she's asking for something right in accordance with God's will. Okay. This begins to happen to us the more that we pray. Our wills are transformed. Our intellect is transformed so that we desire things in the way that God desires them. Okay. So that's another thing that happens with this constant prayer. Another is God wants faithfulness from us. The difficult thing about this is, why does God seem so distant? You know, that's a difficult thing in prayer. It's a difficult thing in spiritual life. Even people who've been Christian for a long time experience this from time to time. And that's a kind of a result of the fall. So the sin of Adam and Eve is trying to use God, trying to use his gifts, to try and control over him. After the fall, God backs away from humanity, not even so much as a punishment, but so that they are unable to fall into that trap of being able to use them. His mysteriousness, his stepping away from us in a certain sense, actually helps us encounter him in a better way. So that when we do encounter him, when we do receive his gifts, we know it's not because of a thing that we did. It's not part of our control. We can meet God more as he actually is, so that we can enter into a really loving relationship with him. So the consistency in prayer, the asking again, 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 is helping us discover who God really is in that prayer. That's kind of a vague thing, because because it might not seem to answer right away, like, you know, I want this person to be converted. But it's by entering into prayer over and over again, you begin to understand the love of which God has for this person, the patience that God has for this person. Also, God has this crazy respect for our free will. So praying for another person, like we as Catholics believe that God's grace always comes first, but we are also called to cooperate with that grace. And if someone doesn't want to cooperate with that grace, they don't have to, right? And also trusting that God's timing, I mean, it's an annoying phrase, but it's different. And it can also be very surprising. I don't think we're recording this on the conversion of St. Paul. I don't think any Christian was praying for the conversion of St. Paul. They were probably praying for, God, get this guy away from me. God, let him like fall down a cliff.
And what did he do? He just brought him closer.
He brought him closer. He solved the problem in an insane way. Same thing. Like, we want to be delivered from our sins. Like, we want to be free. How did God do that? In an insane way, through the cross. That not only are we delivered from our sins, we actually become his children. So part of the answer will only make sense when we meet God face to face. So that's kind of how I wrestle through all that.
Yeah, and I appreciate that it's a wrestling too. Like, I can, it's not something that's going to be, you get, it's perfectly clear, But my favorite thing that you said was the whole Adam and Eve thing in the garden, that like not using God, right? So that helps with a level of my question, right? Yeah. The whole like trying to get God to do what you want, which obviously it's his will over ours, right? Like that helps with that part. The thing that I think practically makes it difficult for me. One is personal, so it might have a little bit of selfishness in it. The second, though, is not selfish. It's ministerial, right?
Yeah.
So I have had people where, like, I've heard things that are true, right? That persistence in prayer, because of how God ordained things, that's a good thing that we need to strive for. Faithfulness, continuing to come back to God even when we don't seem to get our prayers answers, right? Those are things, but my struggle is personally, and in ministry, I've seen this happen. I have seen people in ministry walk away from God completely because they weren't having their prayers answered, and things were like, and I'm not talking about the selfish, like it's like the deep level of like, I want to feel your presence, or I want my kid to feel your presence, or I want this person to be healed, or like whatever, like real deep, heartfelt prayers, right? And I've seen people walk away from God in doing ministry because, and like, I think from your answer, and I think it's true, it sounds harsh, but it's probably true, it's because of their lack of faithfulness, right? And the reason that I can say that, even though it sounds harsh, is because it's the same for me, and I think honestly this is why I keep asking this question, is because I have been persistent in prayer, and there have been multiple times over the course of my life where weeks, days, months have happened where I've been persistent and nothing seems to happen. It seems to get worse. And what does that drive me to do? It doesn't drive me to more faithfulness. It drives me to walk away from prayer. It makes me think that prayer doesn't work, right? And like, I get intellectually, because like intellectually, I have had prayers that have been answered. I know that it works intellectually, right?
Yeah.
But if it doesn't seem to work for 3 months, 6 months, it's not driving me closer to God. It's driving me away. And that's why I have this question of like, why is it so hard? Why does he make it so hard? I'm asking, why can't he just answer my prayer for once?
Yeah. So this isn't an answer, but I think it's the only avenue, or at least the best avenue, to wrestle with this. That experience of God forsakenness, I don't have an answer for it, but that is what Jesus Christ experiences on the cross. When Jesus, who has been absolutely, perfectly faithful his entire life, so faithful that he's ending up on the cross, he says, oh God, why have you forsaken me?" And some people will brush that away, saying that the psalm he's quoting ends in hope, and it does. But he doesn't quote the hopeful part. He quotes, oh God, why have you forsaken me?" It is Christ crying out to the Father, demanding that the Father be faithful. He's been faithful. He's demanding that the Father be faithful. And ultimately, the Father is faithful, but in a way that for us is utterly unexpected. Christ dies and
goes to hell.
he descends to the underworld. Okay, that really happens. And for us, it was like, well, the prayer wasn't answered, but it was answered in the way that we could not have possibly foreseen. That God is faithful to the Father's faithful to the Son in the resurrection. And so this is when we enter into deep mystery, when the people walk away, when we are praying for a genuinely good thing because we love these people and we feel it in our hearts, and it doesn't seem to be answered. I don't have an answer for that, but I do have a place to go, and it's to that moment that, in an odd way, even God himself experiences God forsakenness, and it's from that place that we get the grace to move on. And as far as the people walking away, you're right, it is a lack of faithfulness, and I say that with fear and trembling, with my own lack of faithfulness at times. Like, that's not an accusation. It's important to remember that God will still be faithful to them, and we don't know the end of their story either. but it's like the darkness is really dark. And after, for the people all around Jesus, he was dead. Like, Holy Saturday was awkward and scary and probably very hopeless for everyone except probably Mary. And even Mary felt the pain, even if she had hope.
Yeah, she still had to watch her kid be crucified.
Yeah, exactly, right? So it's like, if you're experiencing that as a Christian, I guess the one word of comfort I can give is it doesn't mean you're a bad Christian. It means you're entering very deeply into the mystery. Yeah, right?
That's annoying.
Yeah, it is.
But it does help. Thank you for your answer. That was one of the more helpful answers that I have asked of the 3 people I've asked. So thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, if you have questions, whether they're like why is Father Anthony a priest? Why do we have priesthood at all? Or, should I stay a Christian? Does prayer work? Just shoot them over to us. We'll try to answer them here on the show. You did redeem yourself from the last segment, so I'm proud of you.
It's my area of expertise was the third segment.
Well, I gave you half your area of expertise.
You did.
And
okay,
all of
Who
the
knows?
people were you and Anthony, you and John and Father Harrison. I mean, come on.
Yikes.
All right. Well, thanks, Father Anthony. I'll be back next week. See ya. Thank y'all for listening, watching today. We hope that y'all enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that subscribe button. The second thing that you can do to help us out is share this with a friend. There's a share button wherever you are watching or listening. Hit share. Share it on social media with your followers. Share it with a friend who you think might enjoy today's show. This one in particular, maybe a Protestant person who's interested in Catholicism. Maybe somebody who fell away from Catholicism because of that prayer question that we were talking about. Maybe someone who just wants to see a priest be really bad at a game. Share it with them. It would mean the world to us. You guys are the reason that this show grows, so we thank you so much for that. I will be back next week. See you soon.